can you just do the report on sub for the 24th of March, please? Because I wasn't there and Roger's not about.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it.
Thank you. Sorry, I've only just found out.
Is that personnel sub?
Thank you.
The live event has now started.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Policy and Resources Committee on Monday, the 13th of July 2020. The first item of business is to confirm the chairman for the forthcoming year, and the nomination is Councillor Richard Lewis. Are all members in favour, please?
Aye.
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 Any against?
No.
Councillor Lewis will take the chair for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise, and thank you very much for the support. It's going to be rather strange, of course, heading into the ultimate brick wall next year, but there we are. And welcome to any visitors that we've got, and thanks everyone for the odd time of 11 o'clock in the morning. Because I'd like everybody to be on mute, the only thing is that we can't see everybody's face on the screen, so when there's questions, because the electronic hand doesn't work because it's a public meeting, then either Glenville or myself have got to spot it, or if you just interrupt the meeting and let me know, then we'll have to settle for that. Been a bit quiet for P&R, although it's been very quick, quiet, very busy for the subcommittees, and we've obviously got a pink paper item at the end of the meeting. So we'll get straight in, because also the leader has to leave us a little bit earlier today. So we'll move on now to item 3. Any apologies for absence, please?
Sorry, Chairman, you need to do item 2 first. Confirmation of the Vice Chairman.
Apologies, Councillor Glenville Greenwood-Smith. Item 2, confirmation of the Vice Chairman, Councillor Glenville Greenwood-Smith. Are we all happy to support that? Anyone against?
Totally.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that vote of support.
I would like to thank Councillor Glenville Greenwood-Smith for the great support he's given me over these last few years. So I'll now move on to item 3, which is apologies for absence, please.
Thank you, Chairman. We've received apologies from Councillor Roger Glitherow.
Yep. Now you've got to cast your memory back to 24th of February 2020. Are we all happy that I signed these minutes as a true record of the meeting held on the 24th of February?
No, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment to make.
Thank you, Councillor Jenny.
I think if we go to page 3, about just over a third of the way down, the last sentence of overall ownership of the strategy, unless the Chief Executive confirms that the last sentence is right, I think we should have it reworded.
Right, which of the sentences that you're looking at?
The Chief Executive of ENC was the NCSB lead for the strategy and the partnership head for serious organised crime. I don't think we should confirm that he's a Mr. Big or anything like that.
Okay, so a slight rephrasing there. So subject to a slight
I think that would be advisable.
Subject to a slight rephrasing there. Is everybody happy that we approve these minutes?
Aye.
Okay, yeah, now raise your hands. That's the easiest way. Thank you. Anyone against? No. Okay, thank you very much. Move on now to item 5. Any declaration of interest, please?
Chairman, I have one. A declaration in 7H, Agenda 8, the Greenway. I'm chairman of the East Northants Greenway.
Okay, thank you. Any more? Please just speak up. No? Okay, thank you. So item 6, any questions by members under Council Procedure Rule 10.3?
No, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We now move on to the minutes of subcommittees and working parties. And the first 3, 7A, 7B, 7C are personnel subcommittee. And I believe Councillor Peacock will be taking 2 of them, and Councillor Greenwood-Smith will be taking 1 of those in the absence of Councillor Greenwood-Smith. Councillor Glitherow.
Yes, Chairman. I'll be taking 7A and 7C, and Councillor will take 7B.
Okay, if you do A and C, then yeah.
So 7A, the meeting personnel sub from March the 2nd. Short meeting, fairly straightforward, all resolved as printed, unless anybody's got any questions on those.
Any queries? Just speak out if you wish to speak.
May I just interrupt, Chairman, and ask that anyone that's not addressing the meeting at the moment, please can you turn your cameras off, because we're limited to the number of people that we can access with cameras. So if you aren't due to speak, if you could please turn your camera off, thank you.
Okay, Chairman.
That's makes it a bit of a solitary position sitting here in the chair. Okay, yeah, carry on, please.
So there's no matters report. I move that the minutes.
Everybody happy with those minutes of the 2nd of March? Yeah. Okay, please carry on. Please do item 7C, please, Councillor Peacock.
7C, personnel sub on the 15th of June. This was again a virtual meeting. New confirmation of chairs, matters of report as printed. Personnel scheme of delegation, that was resolved as printed. Was then an exclusion of public and press. The head of customer service and community service, and that was resolved as printed. And we also had a report on the workforce statistics. Again, the report was noted. And in agenda item 12 was the backfilling for the unitary appointments, and that was again resolved as printed.
Okay, everybody happy with those minutes?
Excuse me, Chairman. On item 8, there is a resolve to recommend to this committee. 8.3A.
Recommends Policy Resources that delegated power be given to the Chief Executive to authorise variations to the hours of individual employees, where those variations do not create a proposed increase to the budget or to the establishment and do not have a potential to trigger a redundancy. So I propose that recommendation.
How
sorry, yes, it's
are we supposed to participate if we've got our cameras off and we're muted?
Will you unmute yourself, Councillor?
When you're ready to speak, if you you can put your camera back on. It's just at the moment there's too many cameras on for the live feed. So when you're ready to speak, put your camera back on.
Yes, apologies, I missed that one. It sort of you have to.
Yeah, I had to, because I only knew a couple of minutes ago I was going to be doing the report.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so we have in 8.3 there, resolve to recommend the P&R, delegated power be given to the Chief Executive to authorise variation to the hours of individual employees where those variations do not create a proposed increase to a budget or to the establishment, do not have the potential to trigger a redundancy. Are you happy to propose that, Councillor Peacock?
Yes, I have proposed that, Chairman.
Do I have a seconder for that, please?
Seconded.
Yeah, Councillor North, thank you. Any amendments to that?
No.
All those in favour, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry,
Chairman, as a point of order, if I may, if we are mostly muted and mostly with our cameras off, it might be more helpful if we are voting on an item that you say all those in favour, and you might get a rumble of ayes, and all those against and any abstentions, just in case there is any controversy. There probably won't be, I understand, of course, but it might be helpful.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll give you a pause to get yourselves unmuted.
Yeah.
I'm concerned here because we're told we're only to bring our camera on and unmute when we've got to speak. How then do we vote?
Well, I'm a bit surprised, Louise, that you said to turn the cameras off. I've not had that instruction before with any other meeting. And I thought when you spoke, your picture actually tends to come up on the screen.
Yes, when you speak, your picture will come up.
Yeah.
It probably easy. It's going to be easy if officers who aren't speaking turn their cameras off until they're ready to speak. If members keep them on, we should be able to manage it okay.
Right,
But-
because normally the host can actually see all the participants. If not, I suggest you go to Zoom, but that's another story. Okay, everybody back on with the cameras. Right. Thank you, Councillor Brackenbury, for that comment. So if everybody's happy with those minutes of the item 7C,
Yeah.
then move on.
Chairman, can I just come back? Because I've just gone through the 7A, and under 5.1, the policy pay statement, there's a B. It says subject to the inclusion of minor amendments as discussed. Full council be recommended. So does this have to be recommended to full council?
No, that was dealt with at annual meeting on 13th of May.
That's fine then. Just checking. Somebody.
Bring the council before.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 7C now. Councillor Greenwood-Smith, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It's item 7B, if I may make the boldness to correct you. In the absence at the meeting of the Chair and the Vice Chair, I'm pleased to present the minutes of the Personnel Subcommittee on Tuesday the 24th of March. Appertaining an item which comes up in a few moments, I declared an interest as Chairman of the Enterprise Centre Working Party. At 6, we studied the economic and commercial development staffing changes and made a resolution. We looked at the private sector housing team with the Disabled Facilities Grants Panel, and I'm also Chairman of the Facilities Grants Panel, incidentally. And we also discussed an urgent item which was appertaining to a pink paper. We resolved that the payments made in the report should be made as recommended. There are no resolves to recommend. I therefore move these minutes for your approval.
Okay, if you'd all like to unmute, is everybody happy with these minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone not happy? Good, thank you. We move on now to item 7D, which is Community Facilities Fund Working Party on the 4th of March, and I'd ask Councillor North to present these, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As you're all aware, this doesn't need approval from Policy and Resources. These are the minutes from the CFF, and it's also obviously a future item for Finance Sub, which has approved. So just for noting, Chairman, you'll see there that it was well to recommend. So I'll come on to that on the next item for Finance Sub minutes. But just to let you know, and just to comment, of course, we very much welcome the final round 8. I think it's been a fantastic success for this council to be able to utilise over £2.5 million of funding from New Homes Bonus into community projects, and as members are all aware, we have delivered hundreds of projects right across the district over the 8 rounds. It was hoping to, and I think we still are hoping to, Chairman, do a kind of celebration event before this council comes to an end for all those that have gratefully received the funding. So it's just representing the minutes, and I'll be commenting on it in the next report as well, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor North, and I fully endorse the comments there about the number of projects that we've done over the years, and it would be nice to think that maybe something with this unitary may look at something similar when they find a city.
Here.
So move on now. There's a bit of a Councillor North benefit really to item 7E, which is Finance and Performance Sub on the 24th of March, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As you appreciate, no, I wasn't there, but if you indulge, I think I can give the minutes to that meeting, if that's all right. And as you can see, it was a one item only, which was to approve the Community Facilities Fund for the last time. And obviously you have the sum there at the bottom of the page, and that's round 8. It is worth noting, Chairman, that we have asked all these to be delivered basically by the end of the financial year, or January at latest, because obviously with the close down of the accounts, etc., we do want everything wrapped up. Near enough, all are on schedule to be done and delivered before the end of the year. So as you see, it is resolved, so it doesn't need approval. So just for noting, unless there's any comments.
Thank you very much. Just anyone, any comments on that one? Okay, no, that's fine. So we move on now to item 7F, which is Finance Performance Sub on May the 6th, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, as members know, these are generally reported to Policy and Resources as the parent committee, just to take note of resolved items. Obviously, it is a committee in its own right. There were no items from this meeting to Policy and Resources. So, again, I think I take it all for noting. The result to recommend to Council has obviously been and gone, and that has already been resolved.
Everybody happy with those minutes?
Aye.
Any queries? Anyone wish to raise any queries? No, it's fine. Thank you very much. So if you carry on, Councillor North, please, with 7G, which is been sub on the 26th of May. Please.
Thank you, Chairman. Once again, there were no resolved items to Policy and Resources, so subject to any comments, just for noting.
Any comments on that one, please?
Yeah, could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yes. So in terms of the financial impact of coronavirus on the council, it's now over 3 months that we've been dealing with the coronavirus. Do we have any early indications of how much impact there's going to be on the receipts into the council?
Chairman, did you want to?
I think we may be discussing that a bit later when Mr. Glenn Hammonds would like to make an early comment on that. I think it's a bit out with this particular set of minutes, really. But,
Chairman, I would say, as Chair of Finance, sorry if you don't mind, I mean, obviously we're approving the minutes of the meetings of the situation we're in at that time, and this was the position at that time. So I think, as you said, I think it's a future item rather than this particular item.
Okay, I will bring it up later then.
Yeah. Right, thank you very much. So we move on now to item 7H, which is Finance and Performance Subcommittee on July the 6th, and there's quite a few resolves and recommendations on this one. So Councillor North, please.
Thank you, Chairman. For those resolved items, I obviously will not comment on. They are there for you, obviously, for you to observe. But if you go to item 5.7, there are some obviously recommendations to Policy and Resources Committee. Would you like me to read them now? Is everybody content they are? I'd like to move them on block unless anybody's got any particular questions they want to raise. I mean, obviously, I can comment on the detail of them if you wish, but it is all there obviously in the paper.
Councillor, I see Councillor Mercer. Oh, wave your hand.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm interested in the little V sub-item 5, that the 2019-20 undersaid and be set aside within the new COVID-19 reserve. Can you tell us something about the COVID-19 reserve, what its terms of reference are, if you like? In other words, what can it be spent on, what can't it be spent on?
Thank you. Shall I pass that one over to R151?
Yes, I think that might be the best thing.
I think so.
Mr. Glenn Hammonds will comment on that one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. In response to that question, Councillor Mercer, the report that was presented a little bit later on the agenda, item number 7, financial monitoring for the current financial year, that sets out the position that we are currently estimating and forecasting with regards to COVID. What you will see in there is a difference, a shortfall compared to the amount of pressures that we're expecting to be facing as a council as a result of COVID in terms of costs and lost income, compared to the level of government funding that we've been allocated to date. Essentially the carry forward and the request for the reserve would be looking to offset any of those costs should we have a shortfall. So it is only things that are directly as a result of the pressures arising from COVID in terms of what could be spent and that reserve utilised for.
Can I ask a supplementary?
Yeah, far away.
Under what circumstances is it authorised to take money from that reserve and spend it elsewhere? I don't know whether it's something that can be done under delegated powers by the officers, whether it has to go to finance sub, whether it has to go to PNR, whether it has to go to full council. What are the controls on that reserve, in other words?
Well, essentially, once we've set that reserve up, it would be something that we would need to report back, as with any of the other reserves, back to finance and performance at each meeting. I think what we'll be seeing throughout the course of this financial year, the main focus of the in-year budget monitoring will be around COVID. So what we'll be looking to do is to bring back specific reports focusing on the COVID position throughout the year. I think the other bit I would mention at this point with regards to funding around COVID is that we, along with all other councils in the country, are continuing to lobby central government for further government funding in order to manage the pressures arising from COVID, not just in the current financial year, but potentially in future financial years too.
Yeah, so in other words, the spending will be monitored by finance and performance.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's a lot, the government's requested a lot of information about the financial impacts of COVID. And what isn't known is how much more money might be forthcoming, because quite a bit has been forthcoming. But as it stands at the moment, there will probably be a deficit. So, you know, I think this is a sensible idea to use this this fund. And of course, there's a lot of figures that we're not aware of yet, and we don't know what the government's going to do. So I think Glenn's explanation there is very good. So any further comments on those resolutions?
Yes, Chairman, just following up what Glenn said a moment ago. I mean, obviously, it is welcome that we have a reserve for the COVID situation. And I also note that we've had some funding from central government, which is of course doubly welcome, but there are some quite big pressures on expenditure, especially in view of agenda item 9 presently, and it's just something obviously we need to keep carefully abreast of, especially with the pressures of change which are also coming down the line at the same time. Thanks, John.
Yes, I think that's a very valid comment, but I would say that I do think that Glenn and the financial team are as well up to date as they can possibly be with this moving target that we've got. So, if you'd like to carry on, Councillor North.
Yes, Chairman, because I appreciate we are dipping in different places here. I think the important thing is in relation to resolving these items on here in relation to obviously the COVID reserve, and also want to mention the DFG in relation to the disabled facilities grants and the recommendation to council. It's worth pointing that one out as well in relation to the point that we had an extra allocation, and obviously we only allocate so much in our programme, which is why it's a recommendation to council. It's not an overspend. We were given a larger grant. So as I said, it's easier and happier to take these items on block, Chairman, but in relation to the comments Councillor Harrison has made and some of the other comments in relation to the wider issues of COVID impact, obviously the Finance Subcommittee had a very full report, which is obviously linked to later minutes, which were available for everybody to read, which obviously gave us a very detailed position in relation to that. And additionally, Chairman, as you know, that members have been invited to an all-member briefing before council on the 20th of July, which will be in obviously the invite to actually give a full and comprehensive update, but in relation to the COVID pressures and the impacts, Chair. But as I've just mentioned already, obviously the finance and performance did have full papers that were.
Oh, you just disappeared.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And I've got Councillor Wendy Brackenbury would like to speak as well.
Yeah.
Wendy, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say what Stephen had just said. I was pleased to see that we've got a briefing on the COVID financial situation. It's a question I've got, but I did see that we had an email this morning, so I'd be pleased to attend the meeting before.
Yeah, and as Councillor North has mentioned, there's extensive information available in the finance and sub. I'm sorry about this. Somebody's quite keen to ring our phone, which is right next to my left elbow, which I can't actually switch off, but hopefully that's gone now. Sorry about that. Oh. Excuse me. Just
scissors.
Great.
It'd be better to have switched off his microphone first.
Leave it off the hook.
As Vice Chairman, I think I can report that the Chairman has gone to find a pair of scissors to cut the phone off in dramatic fashion.
Yes, so Glenville, in that respect,
Yes.
I had obviously actually moved to take these resolved to recommend on block, and then we can move on with the rest of the item, if that's okay.
I'd be very happy to agree to move them on block, and while the Chairman is busy on the telephone, do I have a second?
And I'll wait
Do I
until
have a second of those, please?
phone call from me. The trouble is I've changed my supply, so I don't get the number come up.
Chairman, can you mute your microphone
off, Richard?
Can you?
Yeah, your mic.
Can you mute your microphone, Richard? I'm just
Well,
calling.
no, just if I might speak, that was East Northants ringing me to say that the live feed is no longer a live feed; it's a dead feed.
Oh.
So I'd like us to pause the meeting for a moment until they can try and get it sorted out.
Chairman, I've still got live feed come up on mine. It is still live.
Well, the fact that Charlie could hear the meeting whilst I was speaking, it realises that we're able to carry on very successfully, but she reckons the live feed has gone. So
Well,
we give a couple of
Chairman, I can assure you it's still live. The live feed is still up.
My screen says the live feed's still up.
okay, in that case, it's East Northants who can't actually see it at this moment. So everybody's happy that we carry on then.
Absolutely, we're making advantage of that, Chairman.
Come on.
we have.
Okay, Councillor North, apologies for that interruption there. Councillor North, are you?
Chair, I do think we need to pause because although it might say live on the screen,
Right, okay.
if those in the Democratic Services control room are saying there's a problem, I think there might be a problem. So I would suggest that we pause at the moment.
Right.
In that case, Chairman, while we're paused, can I advise you that while you're away, I accepted that the recommendation should be moved on block, and we're waiting for a seconder when we go live again.
Well, I'll second it before we go live.
Should we formally adjourn the meeting until we can restart?
A very good idea, Councillor
Do I
Murphy,
have a
yes.
proposal that we adjourn the meeting?
All right.
And a seconder?
Yeah.
All those in favour of that?
Seconded.
Point.
Right, okay, thank you very much. You all get a cup of coffee now, or a glass of rotten water.
And in the meantime, I would suggest everybody puts their mute button on and also turns their camera off as well.
Chairman, can I have a point of order?
Well, I want to keep, I should keep mine on so I can hear what's going on when they
I
come back.
appreciate that once this is sorted out, Chairman, that I may no longer be with you.
Yes, it's unfortunate that, Steve, that this has happened.
So, as Vice Chair of Finance and Performance, if you would take over on that basis, because I mean, I'm not sure when we know whether we'll be back live or not. So, you know.
No, okay.
All right. So, are we leaving the meeting and rejoining then?
Yes, we've just agreed to suspend the meeting temporarily.
We don't need to go sign off though, do we?
Oh, no, we can just stay logged in. It's
Just wait logged in and muted.
Chairman, there is somebody waiting in the lobby, or has just been accepted in from the lobby, I think. But anyway, it was up and it's just changed as I was speaking.
Probably Joe. Morning, Joe.
I would confirm that.
You're muted.
I am, yes, thank you. It was me.
temporarily suspended, Joe, because the feed at Thrapston has gone, although it does not on my screen. It indicates the live feed is still live. So we're just in suspended animation at the moment, which is unfortunate.
That's okay, no problem. I've just had a mild panic as my system went down. I'm in the offices today as well, so.
Right, so sounds like East Northampton
There-
got a problem.
Does
There
anybody,
may be an issue.
Chairman, does anybody actually know if we're not still live in
Hello.
relation to the
Hi, sorry
YouTube
to
feed?
interrupt.
Shut now.
I've just got back in and I'm trying to work out what's live and what's not. Sorry, hi. Are we still live? I don't know.
It looks still live to.
This isn't set out the same as. This isn't set out as a producer.
Just carry on. We'll just have to carry on. Carry on as it is. Just carry on.
But what?
Chairman, can anybody check the YouTube feed to see if it's actually
Yeah, I'll
continuing live? Is that not impossible to
carry
do?
on taking notes.
Yeah.
I think somebody's doing that
Louise is
now.
just going. Sorry, Louise is just going to check the feed because I can get it on my computer. Louise can't get it on hers. But there's obviously an issue at ENC. I think Joe was just saying because everything's totally gone down, as it were.
Not an IT issue, surely.
It's not a Carry On Charlie film, is it?
Oh, you're quick today, Deputy Leader. You're quick today.
Oh, blimey. What have you been eating over the weekend?
But Chairman, is this still going out live on YouTube? It would be good to know if we are still live, to be
Louise
honest.
is just going to check if she can. She's just gone back in the other room to check.
And in that case, then we can carry on, can't we? Well, I'm certainly not going to be with you for item 9, Chairman.
Aren't you lucky?
Well, the deputy leader, he's got broad shoulders.
Thank you, Richard.
No, there's a good backup team with Glenn and Joe.
Yeah, but I think that's very clear from the time now, even if we are still live.
Yeah.
Chairman, while we're sorting out the live feed, can I just report that I seem to have lost the capacity to pick up signals from members who are wishing to speak.
Well, the raise hands facility is gone.
Yes, I appreciate that, but there was another one, was there not,
The chat.
The chat function is working on my end anyway.
Fine, I'll try it again. I'll mute unless I need to speak again, but thank you.
Yes, you stick the chat up to the right hand side, you'll see that. I've done that now as well. But, I mean, I'm quite happy if people speak up to say they want to speak, because I can see 9 people on this screen, so which is a pity really, because the numbers involved in this committee would adequately be covered on a single screen, but maybe team will get round to that. Probably by the time we don't need it.
Sorry to interrupt. Louise has just asked, can we just adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes to allow us to do some things in the background?
We are adjourned.
Sorry.
Adjourned.
Adjourned it.
I'd have already adjourned it, have you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then we'll try and reconnect.
Okay, we're just going to try and work on it in the background to get this back up and running. It's not live at the moment. That it says that it will resume shortly, so it's stuck, as it were.
Normal service will be resumed. There is a test card with that on, and the old televisions.
Yeah.
Service will be resumed as soon
Come
as
on,
possible.
Richard. Come on, Richard. Get on with it. Go.
Chairman,
Steve,
if we can't reconvene, which we have to for a public live meeting of this element, there are recommendations that go into council next week, and we won't be able to reconvene in time before council to get notices out to the public of a reconvene meeting. Just so you know, I think that does cause us an issue if you can't reconvene. Not to do a doom and gloom on it, but if this isn't sorted today and we can't reconvene this meeting and you have to postpone it, that does leave us as an issue for Monday.
I don't quite.
Yeah, we're pretty tight anyway. So
Because we can't just call another meeting because it's a public meeting. We'd have to re-notice it and actually give notice. So
I'm hopeful that this little gremlin can be sorted out in reasonably short order. Leader.
Oh, Ben,
hello, Ben.
you're all right.
Hello, is there a problem?
I thought you were on leave, so it must be.
What's going on?
Well, they told me it's gone.
The live feed, even though it's still showing live on our screen, seems to have gone to ENC and it's not being played on YouTube as a live event.
Oh, right, okay.
But the live is still hasn't ever dropped off, and it's still showing up as live.
Okay. I wonder if I can maybe. I don't know. I'm just wondering if I can switch to my internet at home. Let's have a look.
I know ENC's been playing up this morning.
Steve's pointed out it's quite important we get back because things need to be resolved prior to council. So it's
yeah, let's have a look. I'm getting a phone call from Louise now. Hello.
Is Phil Stern with us, by the way? Are you there, Phil?
No, David Oliver's here.
Yeah, no, it's all right because Phil Stern is down on the list of participants, but he's not actually accepted, and he went down as an apology. So, well, it doesn't sound as if Phil's here then.
Right. If you. Oh, hello, David. I didn't see you there. Right. What I'm going to do is set up a new feed, and then I'm going to send you all. Sorry, can.
Participant, but he's not actually accepted. He went down as an apology. So.
Right, sorry, I had a bit of feedback there.
You're receiving delayed feedback from the chairman about sort of 15 seconds ago.
Yes, I've just turned that off. Right, I'm going to set up a new feed, I'm going to invite you all into that, and then we're going to basically try and reconvene the meeting, and I'll get the comms team to publish a new live link so that we're basically a legally constituted meeting.
Will you make certain that goes to my home email address, because it's got a habit of dropping out the sound if I use the one at East Northants?
Yeah, I'll send it to everybody who's on the invite list for the current meeting.
You're muted, leader.
Yeah, sorry, it's a good habit I've got. Chairman, we need to know when the live feed dropped off to know what was resolved in public and what wasn't. So even if we do reconvene another meeting, we need to know exactly where we dropped off.
If it helps, folks, I can tell you where on mine dropped off, which was when when Glenn Hammond was responding to Councillor Mercer's question about the COVID-19 reserve. So that's when mine dropped out. Whether that was exactly the same point that the public feed dropped out, of course, I don't know, because I'm on this sort of private
That's
network.
okay. So,
if it dropped off when Glenn replied to me, that's a long way back.
Not too far back, but it certainly predates when we moved, when we agreed the resolutions on block, Chairman.
Sorry, folks, we are actually, I've just checked, we are actually live now.
Oh, Lord.
So I've just heard myself talking, basically, 15 to 20 second delay. So actually, if you'd like to, you can now reconvene the meeting.
Okay, so you're happy with reconvene the meeting? We haven't actually taken a vote on these recommendations yet, albeit we've got a proposal and a second.
I would suggest that you start the item again that you were working on.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, everybody happy that we restart?
Right.
Yes.
Sorry.
Chairman, does that mean I have to go back to my question that went to Glenn Hammonds, or is the question still recorded?
Oh, well, if it went off in the middle, then maybe, unfortunately, you've got to ask your question again.
Okay, well, I'll ask my question again. It was this.
Sure.
On the fifth sub-item within 5.7, it refers to the COVID-19 risk reserve. My question was, under what circumstances can money from that reserve be spent, and what authorisation is needed? Can it be done by officers under delegated powers? Does it need to go to performance and finance and performance? Does it need to go to policy and resources, or does it need to go to full council? Which level is the authorisation for spending that reserve to be at?
And thank you, Councillor Mercer. In response to that question, all of this information with regards to the COVID pressures that we've got and expenditure against those and the use of that particular reserve will be reported back through the finance monitoring report, which goes to finance and performance sub at each of its meetings.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Chairman, I'd just like to paraphrase my remarks as well, which were that it's noted obviously that we've got the COVID reserve. It is also noted that some central government funding has been received, and I was just commenting about the pressures on overall funding with regard to agenda item 9, among other things, and the distractions that the advance of the unitary agenda are going to be having over the next few months. And just paraphrasing my previous remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other comments on this one? So we'll have those items proposed on block by Councillor North. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Greenwood Smith, were you seconding those?
Affirmative.
Any amendments to those propositions? No.
Can we ask Sarah Peacock to turn her camera on, please, so you can see her vote, Chairman?
Well, what I'll do is to take an audio one, and then I shall ask for anyone against any amendment. So, so all those in favour of that, please.
Aye.
Is anyone against? Or anyone abstaining? No. Thank you very much. Please carry on, Councillor North, if you've got the time.
Thank you, Chairman. And as you know, I don't go through these verbatim, but you'll see we've also got the annual Treasury Management review, and that's a recommendation to full council, obviously not this committee, and you'll see the notes within the context there in relation to the COVID crisis. As I mentioned earlier, Chairman, item 7 is picking up on Councillor Harrison's question, which I'm sure all members are keen to have an update on. And as I mentioned earlier, we obviously had a report to the annual meeting by our 151 officer. We have a detailed report of where we are in relation to forecasting. In relation to Councillor Harrison's point or question earlier, you'll see obviously 7.2 and the risks there. Members are aware that actually all councils across the country had to give a report to government where they think their financial positioning is going to be in relation to the COVID crisis. And as I also mentioned earlier, Chairman, obviously, there was a great big detailed report that was a public report off the back of these papers, because these are just the minutes, of course. But there is to be an all-member briefing before full council to give everybody a wider and complete update in relation to where we are with the financial pressures that this council and all councils are having. And of course, this is not a recommendation to this Policy and Resources Committee, but I would like to pass that on, that we will keep everybody up to date. So if I can move on, and obviously take any comments later, but I will need to depart in a minute, Chairman. If I can move on to the Greenway, obviously fantastic delivery of open space within our towns and villages, and it's great to utilise that during the COVID crisis, as I've mentioned before. You'll see there we've got a possible transfer of funding. It's been done in sections, and you'll see there that we have an issue with one element in relation to this, of moving a byway, and in relation to, once again, the pressure and the time this council's got left, it suggests a change in relation to delivering another aspect of the Greenway, which was supported by Finance and Performance Committee, and you'll see there that it's a resolve to full council, not this committee, that it's a change in the capital programme. But again, I would mention that, but it is because it's a change in the capital programme, not a new element of the Greenway. And Chairman, you've got the economic recovery prospectus that again, I would move on block, because it is but it's a recommendation to Policy Resources on the recommendation onto council. So members, I hope you appreciate that you had that in your council papers, even if they weren't included as an appendices to these papers. And obviously I hope you've had a chance to read them. Chairman, I really do have to go, unfortunately. I'm quite happy to leave that with you to move that on block, but I have got this other meeting I really do have to depart for.
Okay, right, thank you very much, Councillor North. Well, these are items to resolve. I think one of the comments is, which I've made at council several times, of course, that when you've got minutes of a meeting, then council have access to all the full papers, and that's where the detail is. And hopefully if you read the original papers, then it should clarify a lot of the points that you may have to raise when you just get the bare bones of the minutes. So any queries on the economic recovery or the Greenway for that matter?
No.
Are you happy with those? Okay, would you like to propose those recommendations in Councillor North?
Yeah, I'll propose it and then I'll have to depart, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Have a seconder, please.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. Any amendments to those recommendations? All those in favour?
Aye.
Is anyone against? Or anyone abstaining? No, thank you very much then. So we'll move on now. We've now finished the minutes of subcommittees, and we move on now to agenda item 8, which is a closed circuit television CCTV policy. I don't actually know offhand who's taking this paper. It was Greg McDonald.
Yeah, Chairman, it's Rob Harbour here.
Oh, right. Hello, Rob. Hello. We don't see everybody. Oh, yes. Thank you. Now,
Yeah, so Greg's on leave this week, and so I've offered to present the report in his absence.
All right, okay, thank you very much. So if you'd like to fire away.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning, members.
Morning.
So the following report presents members with a draft CCTV policy for their consideration and approval. As members are no doubt aware, CCTV is used by the council in a variety of different settings, and the policy, which is at Appendix 1 of the report, sets out a number of issues. It doesn't seek to provide an exhaustive list of where CCTV is used, and obviously over time, where and when CCTV or surveillance equipment is used will obviously change, but the policy is really around more overarching issues in relation to its use, including, for example, why we use it, how we operate and monitor it, what data we gather through the use of CCTV, how we store that data and delete it, and under what circumstances we might seek to share some of that data. Obviously, this is an important document for the council to have in place. Not only does it help to protect employees, members, contractors and members of the public, but it also ensures that the council meets its obligations under data protection legislation, and to that end the policy has obviously been through some rigorous consultation with both the data protection officer and the monitoring officer for the council. Appended also to the report are the impact assessments relating to the policy, and the recommendation that is brought forward to you today is at section 11 of the report. That is for committee to consider and approve the CCTV policy as detailed in Appendix 1. And it also seeks delegated authority for the Head of Economic and Commercial Development, in consultation with the Chair of P&R Committee, to finalise the policy for its publication. That's about all that I would like to say in introduction to the report and the policy, Chair, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob. Please speak out if you want to speak. Councillor Botar, I see you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Couple of questions. In item 4, who is the data protection officer presently, and what post covers that role?
Right, no, I'm not on mute. The data protection officer's name escapes me. It's a Scottish lady.
Kirsty Squire.
Kirsty Squire.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Right, fine, thank you. More importantly, in item 10.4, you talk about surveillance cameras where there may be privacy situations, and it's described as, unless in very exceptional circumstances it's judged to be necessary to deal with very serious concerns. Now, I'm concerned that those two descriptions are very loose. Who decides whether it's very exceptional or very serious? Would it not be more sensible to have it within that policy that where an item is judged to be of that nature, then that decision is made by a group, say, comprised of the chief exec, the leader, and the data protection officer, or a group of people? We ought to know how that is actually determined, because as it stands, I think it's very, very loose indeed.
You have Councillor Brackenbury.
Councillor Brackenbury.
I might just like to comment on that last suggestion. Obviously, in such a circumstance, it would probably be part of a criminal investigation and would require some degree of confidentiality for that reason anyway. there should be a policy as to how that investigation would be carried out, but it would I think it would be within policing and other legal frameworks rather than the policies of East Northants.
I don't dispute that. I just feel that there's such. I don't like the fact there's no. It may be a criminal investigation, could well be, but surely we should know who actually pushes that button, who pushes the nuclear button and says yes, this can be disclosed. Because I don't think, as it stands, it tells me anything. It just needs to be tightened up, in my view. Thank you.
Well, it does say us, which infers more than one person. So, I mean, is it possible there to expand on the us to cover the point that Councillor Boto is raising?
You have Councillor Jenny and Councillor Mercer.
Yeah. Did you want to come back on that, Rob, before I bring in the?
Chair, I'm happy to hear from the other members, and then perhaps I'll come back depending upon what's said. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jenny, then, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Conscious that most of the drafting for this policy was done some time ago, so I just wonder if there's anything in the specification for this CCTV that deals with heat-seeking cameras to check that people coming into the building are in a non-contagious situation. Maybe if somebody could just confirm that the cameras that we possibly going to put in there can deal with that sort of thing as well. It would maybe help if we end up with a second spike or indeed a different virus in the future.
Are they actually heat-seeking cameras, or they're not just basically temperature monitors?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
So it's a question on the specification. Really.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah. 2 points. First of all, follow up from what Councillor Jenny's just said. In the future, we're going to have to make some harsh decisions about the competing priorities of safety and privacy, and they do not coincide quite often. At some point, there's going to have to be a rethink about what level of privacy people are entitled to concerning, for instance, whether or not they may be carriers of lethal diseases, which is what's happening right now. Now, the second point is that about 12 years ago, when I was leader, I remember engaging in quite a long, frank exchange of views with a monitoring officer and other officers concerning these matters. And I feel very strongly that there should be some member oversight of all of this. It should not be possible for decisions of this significance to be taken without oversight by elected officials.
Okay, I mean, I can envisage a situation, say, in the toilets in Russian, where we've got drug dealing, excessive drug dealing or something, where they may want to put some monitoring in there, where they may be exceptional circumstances. So what are your comments then, Rob, coming back to you?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, I think they're obviously very valid points that the members have raised there. I mean, I think we could seek to revise the wording of 10.4. I mean, clearly, given the serious nature of any decision such as this, it wouldn't be done without, for example, reference to the data protection officer and monitoring officer. I think, as Councillor Brackenbury points out, there could be issues in relation to it being a criminal investigation, and that indeed, I think, might constrain who might be privileged to information in relation to such an investigation. So I'm not sure at this point, without perhaps further discussion with the monitoring officer, for example, who we might want to include in any such list. But I would have thought that it would go without saying that data protection officer and monitoring officer would be included within any such consideration. So it may well be that a revision to the wording of 10.4 to indicate that, and then of course it may be any other such persons as unnecessary. But as we said, and as was originally started the conversation, the issue there is that obviously that's not very prescriptive, but I'm not sure that we can be absolutely prescriptive in relation to this. So that would be my suggestion in terms of any amendment to the wording of 10.4, Chair.
Okay, so we'll look at 10.4, consistent with the comments that have been made. Councillor Greenwood-Smith, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm disappointed, I think, that it may just be terminology and a choice of words, but I'm disappointed that Councillor Mercer should think that senior officers would make a mistake in or in some way get their decision wrong in their authorisation of this. I can understand member participation would be advisable for the protection of the officers and the members concerned, but to word it such that a member could possibly veto that decision by use of the word oversight, I think is probably incorrect.
Chair, can I come back to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I do not suggest that members should have the right of override. However, after the incident is dealt with fully, there needs to be some mechanism for appraisal of the appropriateness and level of surveillance. There should not be a mechanism by which any member of the public sector can organise surveillance of things without there being ultimately elected member oversight of some sort of what has happened.
Hence my preference of the use of the word associated or similar rather than oversight.
Okay, I don't have a problem with the wording.
Thank you.
Okay, well, the
comment, please, Chair?
Sorry?
Can I comment, please, Chair?
Thank you very much. Yes, okay. Chief Executive would like to make a comment.
Yeah, just to say, I'm perfectly happy with the idea of referring decisions once they have been made to members for their awareness. I think we need to be very clear about the distinction between officers' responsibilities to make operational decisions, however serious or important those decisions might be within their delegated powers, and particularly within their professional qualifications, either as data protection specialists or as monitoring officer. So I think those decisions must be left to officers to make, but I'm perfectly happy for there to be some mechanism for reporting those back to members. And I guess the logical place I would suggest would probably be Governance and Audit Committee. I can't think where else it might sensibly go. And just to say as well that firstly, covert surveillance we haven't done for as long as I can remember, possibly have never done it in my entire time here in the last 15 years. So I think the kind of circumstances we were talking about have certainly never happened in my time, and I think that gives you the kind of idea of the sort of exceptional circumstances that we might be talking about. So I think the likelihood of us needing to use those powers are pretty remote. But as I say, just to cover the point that members have made, I think the report back should sensibly be done after the event and to Governance and Audit, I suggest. So happy to
yeah, that is entirely in compliance with what I was suggesting, what the Chief Executive has said. Members should not be involved in the decision about what is done operationally, but as he has pointed out, there must be a report back for such serious matters, and I would agree with him that Governance and Audit would probably be the appropriate place. I agree with him also that it's exceedingly rare, and I don't recall an instance of it, but as Councillor Lewis has pointed out, there have been instances, certainly in Rushden, that I'm aware of, where it would have been appropriate. As he mentioned, we did have drug dealing in the public toilets at one point, which is why we ended up putting in blue light illumination at night, because it made it almost impossible for people to shoot up because they couldn't see their veins.
Councillor Jenny, did you wish to speak?
I've spoken, Chair.
Right, okay.
Yes, it was about the heat-seeking business.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard so far, I remain reasonably satisfied. I certainly would like to see the monitoring officer involvement in any such decision. and with a proper review process for governance and audit. I'm happier than I was before this conversation started.
Okay, thank you. Rob, I just got a couple of minor points. In 16.1, says any individual who wishes to prevent the processes of their personal data, should that be processing of their personal data?
Yes, it should, Chair. I'd noticed that myself this morning.
In the glossary of terms, there's an instruction. Should that instruction, or are you happy to leave that in? Just that this section, to use this section to give definition, is an instruction of the person writing the report.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just whereabouts is that?
If you move to 18, glossary of terms.
Yeah.
It's an instruction to the person who's writing the report, that was all.
The first two lines, Rob.
Oh, I see.
Use this section, etc., etc., as an instruction of the person writing the report.
Sorry, I was looking for something.
I know you were looking for the word
instruction.
And I worked out that's what Lewis was saying. We just need to take those two lines out.
No, that's that's absolutely fine. Yeah.
I've got one other minor one which I'll let you have separately, but if there are no more questions, we'll move on to the recommendation in 11.1, which is to consider and approve the CCT policy as detailed in Appendix 1 and provide delegated authority to the Head of Economic and Commercial Development in consultation with the Chair of P&R to finalise the policy for publication. So we're covered for minor amendments. Do I have a proposer for that, please?
Yeah.
Councillor Mercer.
We're covered for minor amendments, but requiring referral back to governance and audit is a fairly major one. So can I suggest that we include reference to that directly in our resolution rather than leaving it unspecified?
What does that mean?
It means an amendment to the resolution to say to incorporate reporting back to governance and audit in the event.
Oh, right, yes, well, that's a specific item. Yes.
I'm sure the Democratic Services team can come up with an appropriate form of words, Chair. I think we all know what.
Yeah.
That is exactly correct, Chief Executive.
Yes, thank you very much. So do I have are you proposing that with that amendment? And the second, please, Councillor Jenny, I can see. Any amendments to that other than the one we just had? No, all those in favour, please speak.
Aye.
Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. That's carried. So we now have to exclude the public and press officially this time.
Moved.
Seconder. All those in favour?
Aye.
So we now exclude the public and press, Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1972. So we now move on to item 9, which is the pink paper.
Hang on, Chairman, just while I finish the live feed.
Oh, right. Yes, sorry. Yeah.